Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of No Way Jose, starring IFBB Hall of Fame bodybuilder, I think, or he should be, 212 legend, Arnold Classic champion, the Boston Mass himself, Jose Raymond. How are you, Jose?
I'm great. Do they actually have a Hall of Fame for IFBB?
I don't think there's a physical building you can walk into.
Right.
Like Springfield has a basketball Hall of Fame,
Right.
isn't it? There's a baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, Ohio. Where would the bodybuilder? Yeah, I don't think.
It could be in Pittsburgh or something, I guess, right?
That'd be a good place for it. Yeah, right next to Jim Mannion's office.
Yeah.
Good idea. Well, if you're not in the Hall of Fame now, you definitely should be.
Thank you.
I'll vote for you if they ever ask me. So the topic I wanted to come to you with today, I've seen a couple videos recently that have gotten really, really high views. And this is nothing new. Anytime a video comes out that purports to have the cycle, the actual cycle of a top pro bodybuilder, dude, everybody wants to see that. Everyone's dying to know what these guys are using. And if I wanted to get like 1 million views, I could come out with a video that said Big Rami's actual drug cycle or Nick Walker's actual cycle. And I guarantee you I would get 1 million views before they shut me down. But I actually tried to go live with this to get some feedback from these people wanting to know, why do you want to know? Why are you so curious? And my audio was messed up, but I got some responses. But as you can imagine, it's a lot of things. It's general curiosity because it is a part of the sport. It's part of what the guys use. In addition to the training, the supplements, the food, drugs are involved. So yeah, they're curious. And, you know, there is that other element that thinks if I could use what that guy is using, I could look like that guy. So I'm sure this is a topic you've been hammered with for many, many years as a pro, you know. So how often do you get that yourself? How often do you hear people asking you, hey, you know, Jay Cutler, what was Jay's cycle, or what's Phil Heath's? You know, I bet so many people hit you up on DMs or pull you aside and whisper to you at shows and gyms.
Dude, how would anyone know? You never will know. You never can know. There's no way to know. You know, what the guy, if I asked Jay and what he told me, is that really what he was doing? You know, who knows? Yeah. But who cares? It's I don't understand the obsession with it. There is a base amount that, yeah, you probably need to use. But the fact that Rami is the way he is, or Jay was the way he is not because they used more than the next guy. Their genetic makeup is what determines how they're looking. So it's the dumbest thing ever. You could go do the exact same cycle as Rami and you're not going to look anything like him. I'm absolutely positive that there's people in the Olympia that use more than Rami, and they're not half the size of him. So it's a silly thing. I don't know why there is an obsession with it. I just don't get it. And there's nothing to be gained by you knowing anyway, because you are not going to respond the same way as Ronnie or Rami.
Yeah, Ronnie. Well, you know, I think a lot of it comes from, you know, as human beings, it's human nature to see someone who's successful and you're sort of jealous of that success, and you want to make an excuse as to why they have achieved what they've achieved and you haven't. And with bodybuilding, it's very easy to say, well, he's on 10 grams of gear a week. And, you know, because and they'll believe it because someone like Boston Lloyd, our good friend, he'll come out and say every pro is on 5 to 7 grams of gear a week, 20 IUs of growth a day, this much insulin, this much IGF. And people will believe it because, you know, they have no pros coming out saying, no, this is what I use. I don't use that much. And, you know, if you did, who's going to believe you? Because
you're a liar.
It's easy to, I mean, have you ever actually told someone your cycle and they flat out either called you a liar or insinuated that you were lying to them?
Yes, of course. Of course.
Yeah. And what would your motivation be for lying in their eyes? You're trying to keep them from getting big. You're trying to downplay what you do. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, they probably think you're trying to make yourself out to be special. That you're, you know, I even told Dave Palumbo once what I did for the New York Pro in 2013.
Yeah.
And he was flabbergasted. He's like, no, you couldn't have. You absolutely couldn't have. That's TRT doses. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know, I had tried more than that previously, but that just happened to be the recipe for that particular event, and it worked wonders.
Yeah.
It's it doesn't matter. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. I have no problem discussing um, things that I've done in the past. I don't like talking about it nonstop or sounding as if I condone it in any way.
Yeah.
I don't want young bodybuilders. I've said it numerous times. I don't think bodybuilders under 30 should even be using anything.
Wow.
I just don't. I
Mm.
don't think I mean, it's crazy because you look at young kids like Nick Walker and guys like that are exploding. And maybe there is something to it. I forget the doctor that was talking about it, but they were saying that like the ages 24, 26 to 27, 28, that's probably the age range where your body is most receptive to it and have the biggest growth um, results, from it. But I just think it's counterproductive to your natural levels. Because if you start that young, you're in for a ride the rest of your life.
Oh, 30s.
Nobody
waits till 30 these days. I don't know if they ever did. I mean, I was 27, but that was, it appalls me. I'm horrified to hear 15, 16, 17-year-old kids on Tren and Test and Equipoise and D-ball and Anadrol. Like, oh my God, where are the parents in all this? I'm sure where are they getting the money? And how do their parents not realize their kids just put on like 30 pounds of muscle and water and he's freaking losing it? He's 18. He's got a hairline up to here and he's got gyno. I mean, come on, mom and dad, wake up. But yeah, I mean, I think that's something you need to look at too, is the pros, they don't want kids hurting themselves. And if some kid hears that an Olympia competitor uses, I'm just throwing out, this has no basis in what anyone told me or anything. I'm just making some numbers up right now. Say they find out there's a guy in the Olympia stage who they admire, who's on 2 grams of Test, a gram of Tren, a gram of Masteron, 20 IUs of growth, some crazy heavy duty cycle. And this is a guy that's competing maybe like between 260 and 300 pounds. He's a huge guy who's been a pro bodybuilder for years. That kid, a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid might think, I'm going to do that exact cycle, when he has no business doing that because he's not at that level. And even I don't even know if a guy that large would require doses that heavy, or if they're just doing it to cover all their bases. But I think most bodybuilders, most pros feel some sort of duty and responsibility to keep the younger generation from hurting themselves. I know you do.
I think that's one of the most common misconceptions is like, the bigger you are, the more you need. There's guys that are, just naturally bigger people. Well, I need more than you do anyway.
Yeah.
You're talking about hormones. If you get your hormone levels to a certain level, I don't think it matters the size of your body, what you're taking. I think a bantamweight and a super heavyweight can take the same cycle and get the same, hormone levels. I don't think the bigger guy needs more.
Really? Huh. Yeah. I mean,
Why would he?
I honestly, I don't think anybody needs like grams and grams and grams, but I always assume somebody who's, a huge guy, 250, 270 on stage, it would probably require larger doses to maintain that much muscle to get the hormones up to that level than it would someone, like you said, a bantamweight, a guy who's 143 pounds on stage. Why? I have no medical training. I don't know where I pulled that out of my ass or what, but I always assume that myself. So I'm guilty of probably spreading that rumor as much as anyone else.
That's a good conversation for you to have with a doctor. What's that guy's name? Tsulos or something?
Tuliados.
Yeah. That'd be a good question to ask him. I'd be willing to bet that he'll say no, it doesn't matter. When your goal is to raise hormone levels, why would the size of your body have anything to do with it?
Yeah. So getting back to the original question, why people care so much. I honestly think because drugs, there's so much awareness about drugs now. Back when we started, it was nobody talked about drugs. There was like a little pamphlet that Dan Duchesne sold, the Underground Steroid Handbook. That was it. I think
Yeah.
a couple other small things like that. There was no internet. People didn't talk about it. I mean, in the gym, it was, you knew that they existed, but people didn't talk about it. Nobody would ever go up to a bodybuilder and go, hey, what are you on, dude? What are you running? What's your cycle? Whereas I've had people come up to me in the gym that I don't even know and say, hey, bud, I follow you on Instagram. I'm like, oh, thanks. They go, what are you running right now? I'm like, really? Or you see it much more often in the comments, not even the DMs. They'll put it right in the comments in your pictures. What are you running right now? What's your cycle?
Yeah.
As and sometimes I'll say I'm on test, I'm on deck, I'm on a little tiny bit of GH, and they'll be like, oh, come on, bro. No, what are you really on? I'm like, I mean, dude, I'm not 300 pounds. I mean, I'm not, what do you think I'm on? Why would I lie to you? But man, so first of all, explain why pro bodybuilders aren't so willing to talk about the cycles. What are some reasons that they might have? Because these kids, they feel, I say kids, young people, a lot of them feel entitled, like you owe it to them to tell them that.
Because it's one, illegal.
Mhm.
So that's number one, most importantly.
Yeah.
Two, it's none of your business. Here's a good example. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to admit or deny that this conversation ever happened, but say you're out at a bar and some random person asks you, like, well, what's your cycle? What do you take?
Yeah.
And you say, oh, that's interesting. It's kind of personal. Do you do anal? They'd look at you appalled and
Yeah.
say, well, that's kind of personal, right?
Yeah.
So it honestly, now it's no secret that gigantic pro bodybuilders are gigantic pro athletes, whether it's wrestlers, NFL football players.
Yeah.
They use something somewhere down the line. Someone did. Some of them do, not all of them, but it's just none of your business, and it you don't want to get into that. The minute you start talking about it, you're opening up a bag of worms for people to scrutinize you and ask you about it.
Yeah.
I'm old. I'm out of the. I don't compete. I don't intend to compete. My I may or may not have to use TRT the rest of my life. So I'm not worried about talking about it now.
Mm.
But it wasn't, and I was never like trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. I never said that I didn't. I just would try to avoid the conversation. And, also, as I touched on earlier, I don't want to act like I condone it for younger people coming up and ruin their ability to reach their potential without it.
Mm.
I'm a big fan of reaching your natural potential, and you're not going to know that for quite some time until you put in years upon years of mastering your diet and training and everything else. And then once you've reached that point, you can try that other direction.
Yeah.
But I just think that those things that I said, it's none of your business, and first and foremost, it's illegal. So guys aren't going to be so open to talk about it. Well, I do this. Guess what the next question is? Well, where can I get it?
Oh yeah, can you get me some?
Yeah. And it's so common with coaching too. Like some of the first questions I get is, all right, I'm having trouble with my connection. Can you get it for me? I'm like, no. I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. I'm not a drug dealer. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's just things are out of hand, and there's way too much emphasis on drugs in general, and it's still taboo. So that's what makes it so exciting to talk about and wanting to know, what does he do? What does he do? Because it is taboo, and it will forever be taboo. I don't think there'll ever be a time where it's not an uncomfortable conversation. It's certainly a lot more easier to talk about today than it was, because we're also learning the importance of it in general health. Um, so people are willing to talk about it in that aspect, but all the craziness about this guy's taking this, no, I don't think he quite is. I think you're fantasizing in your own mind, telling you, well, if I did what you know how many times I've seen that on pictures, on my pictures on Instagram. If I did what you did, I would look like that too.
Of course.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's just it's a very we can do a video on this every week.
I'm
Different, and there's guys like Boston Lloyd, he's not lying. Like, there are people that do those astronomical things, and he was one of them. He admitted to it, he said it, and
look at the poor kid now. He's in kidney failure.
Yeah, hopefully he gets out of that, and he's still young. Hopefully he's very resilient and can figure a way to be healthy. But there definitely are guys that abuse drugs. There are pros that abuse it. There are amateurs that abuse it. There are people that don't even compete that abuse it. I think those ones are the most scary. The guys that don't know at all what they're doing, and they get a bottle of Anadrol and they take 4 or 5 of them a day, because they think that guy must be doing that. One can't do it. How the heck does one of them do it? There's 50 in this bottle. Why would I only take one?
Yeah.
It's a crazy topic, and it's something that's been going on. I also think a huge part of these numbers, okay, is because 30 years ago, there was no such thing as fake steroids.
Yeah.
They didn't make it. It wasn't as big a deal. And today, that's all there really is out there is underground, garbage that's misdosed, and you think you're getting 250 and you're getting 75, and some these guys are just like, it's not doing anything, I'm going to double up. It's still not doing anything, I'm going to triple up.
Yeah.
So they're taking what they think is 3,000 megs a test a week, but they're probably only at 1,500. Who knows?
Right.
But that's why some of the numbers are crazy, and it's just now it's such a big deal that everyone has access to it. So everyone's making, or not everyone, but there's way more people making it and selling it, distributing it, and a lot of it's fake.
Was another thing that they said in the comments of my little crappy video, because the audio was bad, was that a lot of these athletes are under supplement contracts, so they're hawking supplements, this protein powder, this pre-workout, this test booster, and they want to know the cycles, because it's not fair that you're trying to make me think you built that body just on whey protein and creatine when you were putting hormones in your body too. So that and this has been going, at least bodybuilders don't deny being back in the old days, like when Weider magazines were running the world of bodybuilding, they never mentioned steroids ever in those magazines. The guys would deny it up and down that they weren't on anything. They were all natural. That was a different era. It's not that the guys are lying about it now. It's just, like you said, it's illegal. You can't expect people to talk about it. There are a lot of guys out there on YouTube now. They're not like top pros or anything. They make videos and they talk about everything they do, every drug. Boston used to show himself injecting and everything.
Yeah.
But that's their gimmick. They're doing it because that's how they get all their followers and their views and everything. If they had more at stake, big supplement contracts, prize, things like that, a reputation, they probably wouldn't be so willing to share every little detail of all the illegal drugs that they're putting in their bodies every day.
Well, I think those supplement contracts are few and far between nowadays too. So
100%.
But yeah, during that time, there would be the higher ups within the company that don't want you doing that. They don't want you, that is a fireable offense. If you went on a podcast and started talking about that stuff, then you would not be a good person to sponsor.
Right.
So you can't blame them for that.
Yeah. I won't say the company, but I actually saw a contract one time, one of the endorsement contracts that an athlete was going to sign. And it was a clause in the contract that if he ever admitted to using illegal drugs, and I don't know if it's specified recreational, whatever, that could make his contract null and void. They could release him just on that alone. So yeah, I mean, you just can't have people admitting it. As much as these young guys think that it's okay to talk about it, it's not. They have nothing to lose, literally nothing to lose. They're starting out in life. It's a different story when you have more at stake. Is that dog making a squeaky toy thing? Anyway.
Some of the guys have jobs too.
Right.
You do an interview and you happen to be a pro bodybuilder, but you also are in law enforcement. Mr. Olympia, 8-time Mr. Olympia, was a cop.
Right.
You think he was going to go around talking about, illegal steroids? No. I mean, give me a break. It's just kind of a stupid conversation. It's all young, not all young people, but mostly young people. They're like, you're an idiot. You should tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather focus on all the other aspects of bodybuilding that you need to learn than just sit there and harp on drugs.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to genetics rule everything in bodybuilding. It's a very inconvenient truth. It's a sad reality because you can't change your genetics. If you have clavicles like this and hips like this, I'm sorry, you're not going to be a good bodybuilder ever, no matter what you do. If you have, if your muscles attach way up near your calves insert like this far for your knees, if you have short muscles, forget it. You're screwed. You're never going to be able to build that muscle. But people would rather focus on things they can change. And they say, well, I could just take more drugs. If I could duplicate what these guys did, maybe I could look like that too, because it's very hard to accept that you can't look the way you want to look because you just don't have the right genes. You didn't pick the right parents and grandparents and great grandparents and so on. You didn't.
Yeah.
You're not a Raymond.
It's unfortunate. I love basketball. I can't dunk. There's nothing I can do about that,
I mean, the average basketball, what's the average guy in the NBA? Like 6'5", 6'6", average?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're 5'4" and you want to be an NBA player, sorry, kid. It's probably not in the cards for you.
No.
Tell me if you're not comfortable with this, to say, shut up, Ron. Your first cycle, you did not do your first cycle until you had already competed as a pro once, correct?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to say what your very first drug cycle was?
No, I know what it was. It was test and DECA, and I grew titties right away.
How many grams of each? 10 grams of each?
Yeah. No, it was 2 shots a week.
So like 250 and 250?
Yeah.
200 to test is usually a
500 test, 400 DECA.
Yeah. And you grew like a weed because you're a Raymond. I mean, we were talking before we started recording. Your older brother Tito, who's my age, he's got 2 sons, and one of them just turned 13. On his wife Amy Fadley's Facebook, they're hitting a side tricep next to each other. This kid's already got striations up and down his delts. He's got a horseshoe tricep. And he's probably like all of 90 pounds. But you could see the genetics are there. This is a kid that if he wants to be a big muscular guy, it's very well, it's within his possibility. But not everyone's so fortunate. Not everyone had muscular parents or stop calling.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it, but someone's trying to call you. But what can you say to the kids out there who they really want to know the cycles of the pros, because in their hearts of hearts, they think that's the key. That's what's going to make them look like these guys.
Take your time. It's not work. I'm telling you for a fact, it's not going to work that way. You're not going to look like your favorite bodybuilder even if you did what he's doing. It's just a fact. Take your time. Learn the progression of everything involved. If you can tell me your diet is 100% perfect, I guarantee I can find something in there that you could fix. If you're training, you think it's 100% perfect, there's definitely something you could fix to be better. And then it's just time. Even a guy like Nick Walker, who seems like he came out of nowhere, he's been training since he was 16, 17,
Yeah.
So that's 10 years.
Right.
He's put in 10 years of hard training.
Yeah.
And the last 5 have been, you know, like a machine. Like every day, that's his job.
Right.
So unless you have the luxury to stay at home and eat and sleep and eat and sleep like a newborn baby, and then train perfectly like an animal, right? You're not going to make those gains, and you need his genetics as well.
Yeah. I just remembered another reason, because I've heard this, I'm not just making up, that these guys, they want to hear the big numbers. These, you know, he's on 2,000 milligrams of test, he's on a gram of tren. They want to hear these big inflated cycle doses, because then they can say, well, I'm not going to do that. That's too much. That's dangerous. You know, I would never want to use that much. So now they don't have to worry. Okay, well, that's why I can't look like that guy, because he's willing to take those risks and use these mega doses, and I'm not. So I'm good. Now I can feel much better about myself.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
Whatever gets you through the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. This conversation, we could beat it to death. Like I said, we could have this conversation every week. But hopefully new people logging on, watching this can believe us that it just doesn't work that way. Take your time. Less is better. Honestly, you'll feel better. You end up, the more you use, the more your body has to handle. And you're more likely you are to get sick from it. It'll be counterproductive. So there's a sweet spot in there, and always start with the idea that less is better.
You know, I tried to make this analogy in my video that the audio got messed up. Vodka is my thing. A certain amount of vodka will get you very drunk. Past a certain point, you're not going to get any drunker from that vodka. You're either going to pass out, throw up, or like the late John Bonham, drummer for Led Zeppelin, you could die of alcohol poisoning if you manage to get enough alcohol in your body fast enough, but you're not going to get any drunker. There's a certain amount of steroids and other drugs you can take that will achieve a certain result. More and more is not going to do anything extra. Mike Quinn, who, you know, great bodybuilder from Brockton, Mass, Mr. USA, Mr. Universe back in the day, he put it this way: it's like a glass. If you fill up a glass of water, it's full. You can keep pouring water in there, it's just going to spill out all over the table. And that's like taking more and more drugs. It's just more side effects, more for your heart, your kidneys, your liver, everything to deal with. But it's not going to give you any, you're not going to put 40 pounds of muscle on from taking twice the amount of drugs that put 20 pounds of muscle on you. It doesn't work quite that way. If more was always better, you know, we'd have people walking around that were 1,000 pounds ripped with 40-inch arms. And we'd have like real life Hulks walking around. We don't.
Yeah.
These are human bodies. We're humans, people. And I know these guys like Jose are a little bit extra human, have a little more genetic gifts for muscle and all that, but this is still a human body, and there are limits to everything that it can take. Yeah, that's all. That's my piece.
Good point.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like I said, we could do this every damn week, but let's try not to. Let's come up with other topics, because the young guys would be like, you assholes, why are you always trying to make us feel bad? So I want to urge everyone to check out the Instagram for you. It is The Boston Mass, THEE, 2 E's, The Boston Mass. Website is under construction right now. It's being updated, so I'm not going to direct you there. But the YouTube channel is still up and running. It's called The Boston Mass. Great stuff there. A lot of content with Jose and his friend Nate Tello. The Gym Hub Boston, is it open to the public yet?
It's not officially open, but he's allowing people in there to check it out and like take the new machines for a spin and helping promote the place. But he hasn't officially opened, but you can send him a DM at Gym Hub Boston on Instagram and ask him some questions. He'll let you know. Yeah. But it'll be open soon. The place is unbelievable.
Have you done any video shooting there yet?
No, we haven't. He did one, but he and I haven't yet, but we certainly will.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing that. All right, cool. Thank you, Jose. Appreciate you taking the time. Everybody, again, check out The Boston Mass on Instagram and The Boston Mass right here on YouTube. If you like these videos, there's that thumbs up thing. You click on that. There's a bell thing. You click on that and get notifications. Click on everything you can click on except the thumbs down. Don't click on that. And we're good. Thanks for watching. No Way Jose with Jose Raymond. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Ron.